Have you ever noticed that the people who accomplish the hardest things don't always seem like the most talented? They don't necessarily have the highest IQ. They aren't always the strongest. They aren't even the most motivated. So what separates them? Why does one person quit after a few setbacks, while another keeps pushing through years of failure until they finally succeed? The answer isn't talent. It isn't confidence. And surprisingly, it isn't willpower alone. It's something psychologists call mental toughness. And here's the fascinating part. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with. Your brain can actually build it. Science has shown that your ability to stay calm under pressure, recover from failure, and keep moving when everything tells you to stop is trainable, just like building muscle. In the next few minutes, you'll discover exactly how your brain creates resilience, why motivation is one of the least reliable forces in human behavior, and the daily habits used by elite athletes, Navy SEALs, entrepreneurs, and high performers to become mentally unbreakable. Because once you understand how mental toughness really works, you'll never look at challenges the same way again. Let's clear up one of the biggest myths. Most people think mentally tough individuals never feel fear, never doubt themselves, never experience anxiety. That's completely false. The strongest people feel exactly the same emotions everyone else does. The difference is what happens next. They don't let those emotions become their boss. Modern neuroscience tells us something remarkable. Your brain isn't designed to make you successful. It's designed to keep you alive. Thousands of years ago, avoiding risk meant surviving. Today, that same survival system treats uncomfortable conversations, public speaking, starting a business, or even going to the gym like potential threats. Your brain whispers, "Stay comfortable. Don't embarrass yourself. Maybe tomorrow." The problem is that growth almost always lives on the other side of discomfort. Mental toughness is simply the ability to act according to your goals instead of according to your emotions. And that's a skill, not a personality trait. So let's explore how that skill is actually built. Imagine you're standing at the edge of an icy swimming pool. You know jumping in is good for you. You know you'll feel amazing afterward. But your body screams, absolutely not. That hesitation isn't weakness, it's biology. Deep inside your brain sits a tiny structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your internal alarm system. Its only job is to detect threats. The problem? It doesn't distinguish very well between physical danger and psychological discomfort. To your amygdala, getting rejected, giving a presentation, applying for your dream job, or walking into a crowded gym can trigger similar stress responses. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your breathing changes. Your brain prepares for survival. Now here's where mentally tough people separate themselves. They don't eliminate that alarm, they retrain it. Researchers call this stress adaptation. Every time you voluntarily enter controlled discomfort, your brain learns something valuable. Here's a question. How many times have you said, "I'll start when I feel motivated"? Maybe it was exercising, reading, saving money, starting a business, learning a new skill. We've all done it. But neuroscience has bad news. Motivation is incredibly unreliable. Think of motivation like the weather. Some days it's sunny, some days it's storming. If your success depends on perfect weather, you'll rarely make progress. Elite performers understand something different. They don't depend on motivation. They depend on systems. Consider brushing your teeth. You probably don't wake up overflowing with excitement to brush your teeth. You simply do it because it's automatic. That's the secret. Habits reduce the amount of mental energy required to act. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, is surprisingly limited. Every decision drains it a little. What should I eat? Should I work out today? Should I finish this report now or later? By evening, decision fatigue sets in. That's why so many people make poor choices at night. Mentally tough people don't rely on making perfect decisions every day. They eliminate unnecessary decisions. The workout happens at 6 a.m. No debate. The reading happens before bed. No negotiation. The savings transfer happens automatically. No emotional discussion. Discipline isn't about having stronger feelings. It's about having fewer decisions. Imagine two pilots. One constantly improvises every flight. The other follows a proven checklist. Who makes fewer mistakes? The checklist wins almost every time. Your habits are your personal checklist, and every automatic action protects you from emotional inconsistency. This explains why tiny habits matter so much. 5 minutes of reading, 1 push-up, writing 1 paragraph, meditating for 2 minutes. Small? Absolutely. But every completed action reinforces a powerful identity. I am someone who follows through. That's the real reward. Consistency changes identity. Identity changes behavior. Behavior changes life. Chapter 3. The Secret Power of Failure. Let's talk about something nobody enjoys. Failure. Most people experience failure as proof they aren't good enough. Mentally tough people experience failure as information. That single difference changes everything. Imagine you're learning basketball. You take 10 shots, miss 8. A fragile mindset says, I'm terrible. A resilient mindset asks, what can those 8 misses teach me? The outcome is completely different. Psychologists call this a growth mindset. Instead of viewing abilities as fixed, you see them as improvable. Your brain actually supports this idea. Whenever you make a mistake and then correct it, your brain strengthens the neural pathways involved in that task. In other words, corrected mistakes literally improve learning. Failure isn't the opposite of progress, it's one of the ingredients. Thomas Edison reportedly tested thousands of materials before creating a practical light bulb. Elite athletes spend countless hours reviewing losses. Successful founders often build multiple failed companies before creating one that succeeds. Even NASA conducts exhaustive failure analysis after every mission because mistakes reveal information that success often hides. Think about GPS navigation. When you make a wrong turn, the GPS doesn't insult you, it recalculates. Imagine if your brain responded the same way. Instead of saying, I failed, it says, new information received, route updated. That simple mental shift dramatically reduces the emotional cost of setbacks. The goal isn't to avoid failure. That's impossible. The goal is to recover faster. Researchers studying resilience have found that one of the biggest predictors of long-term success isn't avoiding adversity. It's shortening the recovery time after adversity. Mentally tough people don't spend weeks replaying mistakes. They reflect, adjust, move forward. Every setback becomes data. Every obstacle becomes training. Every difficult season becomes preparation for a future challenge. Because in the end, failure doesn't build character. How you respond to failure does. There's a conversation happening inside your mind right now. You don't hear it with your ears, but it influences almost every decision you make. It's your inner voice. Sometimes it says things like, I'm not ready. I'm probably going to fail. They're better than me. I've never been good at this. Here's what's interesting. Your brain believes what it hears repeatedly, not because it's true, but because repetition creates familiarity. And familiarity often feels like truth. Imagine hearing someone tell you every day that you're terrible at public speaking. Eventually, you'd start believing it. Now imagine realizing that the person saying those words is you. Psychologists call this negative self-talk, and it quietly drains confidence, motivation, and resilience. Mentally tough people don't necessarily have more positive thoughts. They simply refuse to accept every thought as a fact. Think of your mind like a courtroom. A thought enters. I'll never succeed. Most people immediately declare it guilty, or rather, true. But mentally tough people become the judge. They ask, where's the evidence? Is this objectively true? What facts support this? Often, the answer is very little. This is a powerful concept from cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most researched psychological approaches in the world. Your thoughts are not commands, they're suggestions, and not every suggestion deserves your attention. Elite athletes often use something called instructional self-talk. Instead of saying, don't mess this up, they say, keep your eyes on the target. Instead of, I'm exhausted, they think, one more rep. Notice the difference. The focus shifts from emotion to action. The brain performs better when it receives clear instructions rather than emotional judgments. Here's another technique used by psychologists. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," add one simple word, "yet." I can't do this yet. That single word changes the brain's expectation. Instead of reaching a dead end, it sees a path forward. Your inner dialogue becomes your internal coach, and the quality of that coach determines how you perform under pressure. Because before you conquer any challenge, you have to conquer the conversation happening in your own mind. Conclusion. Here's the truth. Mental toughness isn't about pretending life isn't difficult. It isn't about suppressing emotions. It isn't about never feeling fear. Real mental toughness is choosing action over excuses, growth over comfort, purpose over convenience, again and again. Every challenge you face is asking the same question: who are you becoming? And every response writes another chapter of your identity. The good news? You don't have to transform overnight. You don't need to become fearless tomorrow. You just need one small victory today. Because one victory becomes another. Another becomes a habit becomes a lifestyle. And eventually, the version of yourself that once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. So here's your challenge. Within the next 24 hours, do one thing you've been avoiding. Make the phone call, start the project, walk into the gym, apply for the opportunity, have the difficult conversation. Whatever it is, do it before your brain talks you out of it. Then come back and leave a comment with just 3 words. I did it. Your action might inspire someone else to take theirs. If you enjoyed this video and want more science-backed insights on psychology, productivity, peak performance, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the strongest mind isn't the one that never struggles, it's the one that refuses to stop growing. Thanks for watching, and remember, your limits are often negotiations with your own mind. See you in the next video.